This is Advisor 3.0, a show designed to help you as a financial advisor elevate your professional practice, transform your clients' lives, and take your business to the next level. I am Abraham Okusanya. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Advisor 3.0, ladies and gentlemen. And have I got a guest on the show? An incredible guest, somebody I've known for many, many years. He is the grandmaster of financial planning podcasting. I'm talking about none other than Pete Matthew, who is the host of the Meaningful Money show or shows. And of course, less known part of you, the CEO of Jackson's Wealth in Penzance. Pete, welcome to the show.
Mate, I'm excited to be here. I love you to bits, mate. I'm so grateful for the chance to have a chat and just chew the fat together. So thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you on the podcast. When I think back before financial planning podcast became a thing, you, my friend, have been in the forefront of this. I think I can say confidently that you certainly have been an inspiration to me when it comes to spreading the news. I've learned loads and loads from you, and I think there are many people, in our profession who will say that.
That's very kind. I get emails like every day, which is a real joy. I literally had a LinkedIn message yesterday, and it's usually sort of, I listened to you, and then I thought this might be a cool industry to get into, and now I've just started work as a power planner for a financial planning firm in London, and I love to hear stuff like that. And I quite often get emails saying, "Yeah, your video on, I don't know, phased retirement helped me pass some exam or other," and oh gosh, so maybe I'm missing a trick and I should go into CPD materials or something. But no, I love it, man. And it's I can't claim first mover advantage when it comes to podcasts, though. I think that honor goes to Martin Bamford, who back in 2004, 2005 was podcasting, and it was a lot more difficult then because you had to write your own RSS feed and all that sort of stuff. So he's the sort of the OG, but I think I just started Meaningful Money at the right time because nobody else was really doing it at that time, and I definitely benefited from that. But I did keep going. hundreds of episodes, so I take a little bit of credit for tenacity, if nothing else.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and we will come back to the to the media empire that you've created around financial education and all that stuff, and maybe I'll just hand you the OBE on this show for your contributions.
Somebody needs to nominate me first, but I'll take it if it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we do that, whilst you've been doing all of this and you're known for Meaningful Money, you are a CEO of a wealth management business, of a financial planning business. So, we've been talking lately. We've chatted privately about the incredible journey that you've gone with the business. So, shall we talk about Jackson's? Talk about Jackson's, the history of the business, and maybe a sense of where you are today.
Cool. It really has been a journey. So Jackson's is 100 years old this year, right? So it was founded in Penzance by Mr. T. Jackson in 1923. And he was a insurance man, right? And he would literally get on his bike, cycle to the farms, which are the primary industry here in West Cornwall, and would do their insurance, right? And so the company originally is T. Jackson and Son. So his son, Horace Jackson, came into the business eventually. And it's just part of the fabric in Penzance, has been a high street presence for pretty much all that time. But in 1974, so 49 years ago, as the kind of regulatory regimes between general insurance and financial services started to diverge, the then partners of T. Jackson and Son Insurances span out what is now Jackson's Wealth Management. So, this company was founded in 1974, so it's our half century anniversary, next year. So we're looking forward to that. So it was in many ways a sort of archetypical financial advice practice for ages. I joined as a self-employed advisor in 2005, but always with the intention that they would ask me to join the business. They made that very clear. So I sat in on even sort of on board meetings, leadership meetings right from the start, even though I was self-employed. Then in 2006, so I'd been here, I don't know, a little over 18 months. I said to them, look, boys, I'm not sure actually I want to buy in. I'm earning quite well, self-employed. There's a few things I'm a bit concerned about that I think we need to fix. And of course, 2006, if memory serves, was, well, firstly, it was the year I got my CFP, but also it was, I think, the year of the initial RDR consultation paper, the very first one. If it wasn't 2006, we knew it was coming early in 2007. I can't really remember. And so I just said to my partners, look, it's going to change. The world is changing massively. We need to be ready, and we're just not. And so I think actually I'm probably going to stay as I am. I may even consider going on my own. Well, they sat me down then between Christmas and New Year 2006 and said, look, you've really messed up our plans, right? You are our sort of exit. These guys are all in their 50s. Right? So they said, look, you've really messed things up. What's it going to take to get you to change your mind? Well, that is the one and only time I've ever been good at negotiating anything. So I said, basically, I want you to let me lead it because I feel like I know where the puck is going. We've got to skate there and build a very different business to what it is at the moment. And it really wasn't a business. It was three guys kind of pooling resources. They used three different fact find documents. I remember vividly, right? So it wasn't a cohesive business, not really. It was a strong business. It was very financially stable, and we had a brilliant client bank locally. So there was lots of great foundations, but it certainly wasn't fit for purpose with the new world, with what would eventually become RDR and all that. So they said, okay, we can do that. That was kind of our hope anyway, that you would take it forward. And to their credit, they really honored their commitment, and they supported me, and they put money in, and we, sorted the compliance and the computers and all the stuff that we needed to get it right, people as well. So at that point, there was me, the three directors, and 1.5 staff. And now we're about to take on number 20 in the team here. And we've grown probably 5 times in revenue since 2007. So it's been nice and steady, organic. 5 times doesn't sound steady, but I mean, that's 16 years. So that's plenty quick enough for me. And we're now a proper financial planning firm, proper business as it should be run in my view. But I think we're doing some things differently now as well, which perhaps we'll get into, things like a 4-day week and stuff like that. And massive emphasis on culture, which I think a lot of firms and businesses pay lip service to. And I think particularly in our industry. So lots of great stuff going on, man. And it's a journey, and I'm still excited to be on it. I'm only 48, so I've got some time to go yet.
It's incredible. I mean, I'm just thinking of what it must have felt to the directors of the business at the time that this 30-something-year-old had come in, and 18 months later he wants to run the business. I mean, what was he on?
I know how they didn't kick me out of the room, but actually that's what they said they wanted, because they could see the end in sight of their careers as they approached their 60s. So I guess I was the right guy in the right time. I was able to buy in relatively cheaply. I mean, I mortgaged to the hilt to do it, but it's the best financial decision I've ever made, and best decision generally, apart from marrying my wife. I think it's been, I've been 19 years at Jackson's now, so it's it's like the most important part of my career, and I'll be here until I drop, God willing. So yeah, to their credit, that could have gone either way, but they definitely have supported me throughout.
There is an important segue here, and I'm not quite sure what the question is, but I am working on the assumption that over the years, then you have retired or exited the directors of the business. you would have, I'm assuming, bought more and more of the equity in the business. And when I think about transition issues or succession issues that many firms have today, it seemed like you've gone through this with the previous generation of owners. Talk to us about how you managed that side of things.
Yeah, 3 times so far and 1 more to go.
Wow.
We've
Wow.
done
So
that
3
process.
directors exited. Oh, okay.
So of the original 3 senior guys, 1 has retained his shares. Great man, brilliant businessman, and a great friend, Mike Caffrey. So he's chairman of Jackson still.
Right.
I mean, he wouldn't mind me saying that he's keeping his shares as an IHT play. So I've built his, that part of his estate, with him and for him. So, but he's great. I mean, he was always the most entrepreneurial of the 3 senior guys anyway. And there's probably not a fortnight goes by where he doesn't sort of rue the fact that he's not 30 years younger. So he's late 70s now, but he's a joy to work with and to be in business with. So he remains. But the 2 other senior guys, they retired in 2012 and 2013. Since then, I was joined with my best mate in the world, co-host of Meaningful Money podcast, Roger Weeks. So he joined in 2006, bought in 2009, I think, and I retired him a couple of years ago. And then also joined us in 2014, a guy called Chaz Cox, who's my last remaining sort of active co-director here, and he is planning to retire next year. So we're doing something similar. And all we've done really, with Roger, it was slightly different. We set up a holding company. The shares went to the holding company, and essentially, we're buying him out over 5 years. So he had a lump sum up front, buying him out, really kind of using his own dividends, but just doing it over 5 years because he becomes a kind of a fixed cost then.
Right.
And it's worked really, really well for us. It means we get the sort of ongoing input from those guys because they've got a stake for a few years. Rog still comes to board meetings now as a non-exec because, we value his input, and obviously he values his remaining stake in the company. So he wants to check that, everything's running okay and that the financials are looking strong because they're taking a risk as well. So we don't have to borrow to buy them out. We're essentially buying them out of future cash flow.
It's incredible. It's incredible that you're able to do that. That they have the patience to see this as kind of a 5-year exit. So I'm guessing, again, correct me. I'm guessing, I'm guessing what's happened is with the structure you set in, they will stop, coming to the office, in the traditional sense of the word. Then they get paid. You quantify the value of their shares, and that gets paid from the dividends to them over a 5-year period. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And it's up to them how they do it. So, we might use their personal allowance. We might actually retain them as a salary and pay them a salary as a non-exec. That uses their personal allowance up. We might continue to pay into pensions for them. As part of, once we've identified the number, I don't really care how it gets paid. It's however they want it. So some of it goes to them as cash. Obviously, they pay all the tax up front because the deal is done on that basis. So they pay the CGT on the whole deal up front. That's why they have a lump sum.
But wouldn't they have entrepreneurs? Wouldn't they have entrepreneurs relief? Yeah, which is now been, it's been, I was looking at this recently. It's been changed to business asset disposal relief, which stands for bad relief.
Yeah, I just call it badder. I put the R for relief on the end, but yeah, it is. But it's a lot less attractive. I mean, still useful, but obviously it's used to be 10 million quid limit, didn't it? So like a lot of these things, the Chancellor has gradually eroded the value of it. But yes, they've had the full benefit of that.
No, I think that, what you've got there then, do you think is a formidable template for firms when they are thinking, about exit? Does it only work? I assume it only works when you've got multiple partners who aren't all retiring at the same time.
Yes. I mean, then it'd have to be, I guess, some kind of MBO, some kind of leveraged thing. It's worked really well for us. The patience is a key word, right? It does require commitment on the part of the retiring director. So you're never going to get a PE backed consolidator agree to that. I wouldn't have thought. So yeah, it's worked really, really well for us, Abraham, and it's a model that has worked. But the question, I think, has to be, well, what about me? Who's going to do that for me? And I've been absolutely unequivocal that I never ever want to sell this company.
Right. I was going to say, you're literally, they're going to have to kick you. They're going to have to drag you out, kicking out.
Well, I hope that I'm humble enough not to outstay my welcome. I think, as sort of, I'm sure there'll come a time where I will be more of a hindrance than a benefit. And I hope that I can see that well enough to step aside. I'm massively attracted by the employee ownership trust model, assuming it still exists, but I don't really want to do it for 10 years. I want to make hay a little bit before that and really put the company to good use and to do some good. But the thought for me, there's no judgment to anybody else who's done this, but the thought for me of selling to a kind of lowest common denominator consolidation company just leaves me cold. Penzance and West Cornwall in particular, I'm sure like lots of places in the UK, is a very small world. I mean, to put it in context, right? My wife's maiden name is Jackson. The company I run is Jackson. So that gives you an idea just how small it is down here. Quite often say that my wife only married me to make sure that our kids didn't have webbed feet. She kind of wanted to deepen the gene pool a little bit because it's a small world down here, right? Yeah. So, if I just handed my clients to a massive company that actually doesn't give a monkey's about them, I would have to face these people daily. So I'd either have to get extensive plastic surgery or move away from the place that I love. I'm just not prepared to sell at that cost, no matter how big the numbers are. And so I would rather close it down than sell it to somebody that I'm not happy with, because it's just that big a deal to me. So yeah, but again, no judgment on however anybody's done that themselves. So everybody's got to make their own decisions on these things. But I don't ever want to sell it. I had a conversation with our newest recruit who joins us in the spring next year, and he was asking me about vision and where I think the company's going, which I think we're going to get to a little bit. But I just said to him, look, I'm never selling this company. And he sort of visibly relaxed, because he can hitch his wagon to mine then and know that I'm not going to sell him out.
It's incredible. By the way, I'm just loving this conversation, right? Like, it's totally unscripted. And I'm thinking that here, like, I haven't prepared you for this and we're just going for it.
That's so, right. I've done this before, Abraham.
yeah, about a million times. So thank you just for wisdom bombs, I call them. So 20 people, or, you have in the business now, the 20th staff joining. And I can't help but wonder how you've managed to, how you've structured the business in a way that's allowed you freedom, to do all of the work, incredible work you do with meaningful money and all that stuff. So talk to us about the structure, the advisor, the operations team, and team beneath them.
Okay. Don't think of me more highly than you ought, because this is massively a work in progress. Okay. So, so there are 19 of us currently, as you say, number 20 starts next year. So of those 19, 7 advisors, including the 2 directors. Okay. So 5 employed advisors plus Chaz and I. Chaz retires next year, and I am stopping doing client work from pretty much now. We're in the process of handing clients over. I've got a brilliant team. I've got 2 paraplanners, and the gentleman joining us next year is paraplanner as well. So that'll take us to 3 in-house. But we've trained the 2 from scratch. So, they're great guys, but they're still quite green and, learning as they go. So I will have 3 power planners, one of whom, the new guy, will be very experienced. And then I've got a team of CRMs, I want to say 6, not all full time, plus a financial controller who's a couple of days a week. And I've got an amazing lady called Sharon Bray, who's my practice manager. I mean, she has been absolutely transformative. I can't even put words or numbers on that, because she's the one been badgering me to give up client work so that I can do what I'm really, really good at, which is some of the other stuff. But she has also enabled me to. She's taken all the stuff that I would have loved to have done, but only really could sort of theorize about because I just didn't have the time to put it into motion. She's taken that. She believes all that stuff too, and she's put it into motion. So she really is. In Gino Wickman traction terms, she's my integrator. I'm the visionary. She's the integrator. She gets stuff done, which I just think is amazing. So in that respect, we've done outsourced power planning and it works really well for us, but we really wanted to develop that in-house and want to continue doing so. And so we're at early stages with that. But I mean, building meaningful money has been done in the evenings and weekends until about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, when I started doing a day a week on it. Right. And so that's been the sort of key structure around it. But I'm definitely too busy. I've had a sort of 2.5 year bout with chronic fatigue, which ended about a year ago when I was finally diagnosed with a massive hormone deficiency. So now that's fixable. So I always enjoy telling people I'm on HRT because it usually gets a giggle. So it's that's helped massively, and I've got my sort of mojo back. So that combined with Sharon really getting into the groove as my practice manager, that's kind of how it's all worked. But it's nothing special, that, man. It's just steadily growing. But our biggest issue, and I almost hesitate to say it, is that we just have a fire hose of new inquiries. So, and it just never stops. So, 85% of the new inquiries come from meaningful money now. We never have less than one a day. Quality wise, I'd say 90% of them are potential clients for us. And of those, we maybe take half just because we don't have the capacity. So we could scale up, but I don't want to scale too fast and lose the culture that we've spent a long time building. So there's lots going on, but it's great fun.
We'll come back to meaningful money in a sec, but just focusing on the firm for a second there. So the 19 people are all, more or less locally. They come into the office, and you were talking. You recently moved offices, didn't you?
We've recently bought offices. We're moving in the spring. I've got one fully remote CRM, client relationship manager. Haley was known to us because she used to work in Cornwall, but moved back to Birmingham, which is home for her. So she's fully remote. She comes down 4 times a year, something like that. So she's down this week because we've got our year ending. We've got our Christmas due on Friday and all that. So, so she comes down, once every 3 months, roughly. She's fully remote, but everybody else is local. They do 2 days a week in the office and the rest at home.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So meaningful money started, kind of as a passion project of yours. Yes. You didn't intend for it to, bring in clients. As a matter of fact, there are questions at the time, this was in 2006, maybe thereabout. 2009. Yeah. There are questions about, advice being essentially local rather than what we've seen where you can deliver advice remotely. Yeah. Let's reminisce over the history of meaningful money, how that started, and let's kind of get to the point of how this is now generating 90% of inquiries for Jackson's.
Yeah, you did right. It was never intentionally. Well, I don't even think the phrase content marketing was coined in 2009. It might have been, but, it certainly wasn't as used as it is now. So that was never the intention. It came out of a desire to do something slightly more than just help rich people get richer, to sort of maybe make a bit of an impact. I'm also, I mean, I'm a consummate nerd. I'm never happier than when I'm trying to learn new software or buying a new piece of, kit that I probably don't need, but I really like. So this was a case of sort of, right, how can I meld these things together? And so but the clincher though was reading a book called Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk, who's still remains one of my online heroes. And the premise of that book, remember, this was back in 2008, I think that book was written, and it said, look, there's no editors now, there's no producers, there's no gatekeeper to getting your message out there. So if it's any good, people will show up. And so I thought, well, I'll give that a go. So I'm looking up to my top right because my original video camera is there, a little flip video camera, just as a reminder of where it started. And I just started shooting videos. Like, this is how money works, right? This is what an ISA is. This is what a pension is. Here's why you might have one over the other. These are the basics of insurance. This is how to set and stick to a budget. This is how to get out of debt. The simple stuff that everybody needs to know that we just don't teach still effectively enough in schools, although it's better than it was then. So I just started doing that. And because I enjoyed it, I kept going, even though nobody was watching. Right? Because around about the same time, or maybe 18 months earlier, Twitter really started to take off in financial services. That's how you and I think, originally sort of corresponded. And so, some sort of key friends in the profession said, hey, look, you might be onto something here. Keep going. And so I did. And it just became fun. And then in sort of middle of 2011, so probably just under 2 years after the first video went up, I had an email out of the blue from a couple in Bexhill-on-Sea. It's a long way from Penzance, right? Far southeast coast. And he just basically said, look, I've very narrowly avoided being ripped off by a charlatan advisor. I've watched a few of your videos and we feel like we know you and can trust you. Will you work with us? So I'm like, okay, right. Never done a remote client before. So we started talking over Skype and that was the first of what became many. So 2014 was the first year that Meaningful Money became the main source of new inquiries, beating the traditional ones of client referrals and professional referrals and just people knowing who we are in Penzance. So 2014 was the first year when Meaningful Money was the main source, and it's just continued to grow. And now this year it's 85% and pushing 90. So, but the level, not only the level in terms of the number, but the quality has just continued to improve. It's weird irony, right? I've built a career on telling people that they don't need to see a financial advisor, all right? And yet we're busier than ever, so go figure. But that just seems to be the way the internet works. You put it all out there for free, and people take it and they apply it, but they still get to the end of themselves and think, okay, who am I now going to go? If I feel like I need advice, they're not going to go anywhere else, right? So you talk about remote clients, though. I remember smiling to myself often in sort of 2020 when we were all in lockdown. You got New Model Advisor and all these places, 10 tips for great Zoom client meetings and stuff. I'm like, gee, I've been doing this for 10 years. Come on. But it's just practice. And so, the world has changed. So in some ways, I was kind of ahead of the game with that. But now, more than half easily of our clients are nowhere near Cornwall. Total client banking, nowhere near Cornwall.
Wow. Incredible stuff. I mean, I'm just thinking about this, idea of compounding in the context of what you've been doing. So you started in 2009. So 2009. It took 2 years before you got the first clients from this thing, 2011. And then it took a further 3 years. So 5 years in before this thing actually got to the point where it's generating 50% of your inquiry as a firm. And then now, 2023, generating.
It's a beast. It's a monster. It's
a monster now, and there is a cost to that. You talked about the impact on your health that this has had, and I guess what I'm trying to, and then of course, in addition to that, it's kind of a business on its own right now. So you've got the podcast, you've got the videos on YouTube,
Yeah.
which I don't know if you monetize that for advertising, and then you've got the courses.
Yes. So it kind of sits in between the free tier of the podcast and the YouTube channel and the one-on-one regulated advice through Jackson's. I have something called Meaningful Academy.
Right.
So 3 phases to that. So financial foundations is a bunch of courses about the stuff you'd expect. So budgeting, basics of protection, debt elimination. That's free. So I mean, we only made it free a few weeks ago, actually, and had sort of 500 people sign up to that in the space of about a week. And so that's going to be, that's kind of my, let's just get this information out to people who really need it and not charge them for it. Then there's the build wealth phase, as the name suggests, talks about investing and wealth building. And then there's the retirement planning phase. So the courses are one-off costs, but I offer access to Voyant Go as well. So there's an annual renewal for that. But it's like 120 quid a year. But I mean, that's a pretty significant revenue source now. So, I mean, this year, I mean, I don't mind giving numbers. I don't know whether people care, but I mean, Meaningful Money will break 200,000 quid in revenue this year. Incredible. So it's a useful business in its own right. It's changed my life in many ways. And that's excluding, it's not like Jackson's pays Meaningful Money for a lead.
Right,
if
right.
Did, I'd be a multimillionaire, right? But, it's, but I don't care about that. It's, so notwithstanding the revenue it brings to Jackson's, it will probably punch 200 grand this year in its own right. So, I got 2 people working for me in that as well. So it's a very long way from me setting up a camera on a cliff top in Cornwall and talking to it for 7 minutes. It's now a much bigger operation. And I've got so much I'd like to do with it, but there's only so many hours in the day. So part of the giving up client work is to free that up a little bit so that I can reach more and reach further with it. So exciting stuff.
I mean, what you're doing reminds me of a mutual, in quote, hero of ours, although he's been vilified, some of it justifiably on social media more lately. Dave Ramsey, which is, the structure which you've got, which is like you have the free content in out there in the on the interweb. Then there will be people who move to the next level, so they pay for educational stuff or coaching stuff. 200, 250, whatever the fee, pounds a month of, a year of the cost. And then you move on to the high end. And like if you have, let's say, I don't know, even if you have 1 million people through the door and 99 98% of them drop, they only stay in the freebies, you would have made so much impact. Then the 10% who go on to sign up for courses, 10, 15, 20% who go, that's even high, I don't know, I'm just making these numbers up. 10% who go on to sign up for courses, that makes a meaningful revenue to at least make the activity worthwhile. And then of course, let's say 1% drop into the high end bucket. It's the typical, I mean, I say typical, but it sounds obvious now. It's taking 15 odd years, but like an incredible content funnel that makes a difference in the world, and ultimately lands you the sort of clients you want, up to the point where you got too much, you got too many that you can handle.
I used to think of it as a pyramid with the sort of free tier on the bottom, Meaningful Academy in the middle, and Jackson's at the top. But you're absolutely right; it's inverted. It is a funnel. People give me too much credit, right? That's entirely by accident, not by design. No. I mean, I've read a lot of stuff on this stuff latterly, but it's just by sticking at it and keeping going and learning from doing rather than applying a sort of theoretical knowledge and just seeing if it works. So, it works really well, mate. I mean, it's, I'm continually surprised and delighted by it. But I'm really sort of hesitant to sound sort of too nauseatingly altruistic, but I literally have no designs on significant wealth for myself. I don't really care as long as I've got enough. But what I do care about deeply is helping people with this stuff.
You're a
And
son of a preacher.
I am the son of a preacher, man. Raised in the Christian faith. That's still very, very important to me. But I mean, irrespective of which faith or non, my parents modeled service and just looking after other people. There was always people in our home from all kinds of backgrounds, people just being loved and served and fed and clothed, and mum and dad have lived an extremely fulfilled life, but haven't built up massive wealth for themselves in doing it. They've given an awful lot away, and so I can't help but feel that kind of runs through my veins as well. And so that's very much what we're building at Jackson's as well, because that, I think, is another seriously useful tool in my hand to do more than just enrich myself. So, I'm not living like a monk, don't get me wrong, right? But at the same time, I would rather use that tool, that thing that I've got control of to do more than just enrich myself. So we're really, really excited about that going forward in what we're building here, right down to, the sort of day-to-day operations, 4-day weeks, how we pay our advisors, which I think is different from many. And, all these sorts of things. We're just trying a load of stuff, but it all comes from the desire to serve and to help as many people as possible. It's deeply ironic. We deal with some incredibly wealthy people here, but West Cornwall is, by some measures, the 4th poorest area in the country, 4th poorest district. So there's massive poverty around here as well, and that I can't really live with that dichotomy. So we need to be doing more to help, level that up a bit, to use Tory language.
Let's talk about that then. Sort of your big vision for Jackson. What is it that you are trying to build this business into? I mean, 20 staff members. I don't know how many clients. Excess of 300 million of AUM today.
Yeah.
Where are you going
with
right. this?
Yeah, so the problem is with 50-year history and so much legacy stuff, it's actually hard to put an exact number on our AUM. I'd say it's between 300 and 350, right? Somewhere like that. Turnover is about 1.4 million. So if you run those numbers into each other, we're not getting paid on a lot of what's under management, which is something that we're looking to address. So massive consolidation exercise. Just to make the business really sing and make sure it's as efficient as possible and has the right people in the right seats. So, we're in good shape. We're profitable. We've invested massively over the last few years. So we're running, after the principals get paid, probably on about a 10% profit margin, which is plenty for now, but I'd like to stretch that out. I've sat at Brett Davidson's feet for a few years, and he would say, really could do with being 20-25% after the principals get paid for a super healthy business. So that's definitely a goal. As for what we want to do with it, bear in mind that my goal is not to just enrich myself, right? So it's to obviously give people meaningful jobs that they can feel fulfilled and developed in, and to have an impact on the local community. So we're aiming for B Corp next year. I want to get to the stage fairly quick that a portion of profits is sort of funneled into a foundation that we can then run separately and make sure that the money goes to the right places locally. That will be, because Jackson's is such a Penzance company. I want to focus our efforts on the local environment. Meaningful Money kind of scratches my itch for making a bigger dent than that, sort of more nationally, if you like. So, even down to our advisors are not remunerated based on their production or on how much they look after. They get a salary for doing a job. We pay them well enough. We're continually trying to push it up as the profit allows. But I just don't believe that my advisors do any more towards the health of the business than the brand new CRM who started 18 months ago. So we pay them differently based on their roles, but we don't believe, and we've really only sort of put this into practice in the last year. We don't believe in bonusing the advisors when they've got a team of people behind them enabling to get that bonus. That doesn't make any sense to me. And we just think it drives the wrong kind of behavior. So Brett Davidson, to give him credit, has been instrumental in sort of helping me form my thinking around this. But we've rebranded this year, and it's all about people. I literally couldn't give less of a toss about money, wealth, retirement, anything like that. But I love people. And, I want to build a business that models that, really. So that's kind of where we're going. I could wax lyrical, but I'd bore you. But that's basically where we're going. Trying to build something that is good, really good, something that I'm proud of, not just something that makes me rich.
It's incredible, to think about, making an impact on people in that deep way that cuts across. Starts with your own staff, of course.
Yes,
but then feed through to the client and the community and ultimately the nation through the work that you're doing. I think it's incredibly inspiring.
Well, thank you, man. I'm after a knighthood. I'll settle for an OBE. And I jest a little bit. I've always said that'd be quite nice, but no,
absolutely.
It's. I just think a business is such a powerful tool. Probably more money comes through a business's hands than an individual's hands in most cases.
Right.
And so it's a form of leverage to me. I can probably do greater, more wide-ranging, further-reaching good with a company than I can ever do with charitable donations and giving in my own right. So I just think I've been blessed with this super powerful tool that I can really make a difference with. And so that's what excites me. I just don't think I would get out of bed on January the 1st if it was just about, right, let's increase revenue so that I can change my car.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've had that,
yeah, it's not me.
You've had that saying, what is it? A business is a chance or an opportunity to insert your own opinion in the world. But I think in this sense, it actually goes more than that. It's a chance, it's an opportunity to insert a bit of goodness. In this case, the opinion being inserted is about generosity, it's about impact and making a positive difference in the society. I
that's my
think
goal. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we'll ever have any difficulty attracting talent on the basis of that. Like 4-day week is, we're 4 months into a 6-month trial of a 4-day week. So we close the office on a Friday.
Right.
So one of us is rotated on to check PFP messages. That's the portal on the back end of IntelliFlow Office. So somebody's rotated on to check that, and there's a special voicemail goes on the phone system on a Friday. So those are monitored as well. So if a client needs a call back, they'll get a call back. But we get because clients know now, they're getting, they're starting to remember that we're closed on a Friday. So we might get 3 or 4 calls on a Friday, and it's never anything urgent. It's usually a provider. So, they can ring back on Monday. So it's working really well. And revenues, if anything, are slightly up. Basically flat, but slightly up, despite us working 20% less. And obviously the staff love it. A 3-day weekend is a revelation, believe me. So
it's interesting. So you basically, I mean, ultimately you'd attract people with very different mindset to the traditional financial planning or financial services, which is like, you want to prioritize life over just the pound element.
Yes, but I have a clear goal that in 3 years' time, we will have the revenue and the profit margin to be able to pay all my team top London rates of pay for the role that they're in. despite being in West Cornwall. Right? That's stated. It's on a presentation I'm giving to my team tomorrow. And because I don't believe in regional pay.
Yeah.
Right. Because I just think if a job's worth doing, it's worth paying people really well for. But I would probably bankrupt myself if I did that in one step. Right. So I've got to do that in a sort of stewardship kind of way. I've got to make sure the company doesn't fail, because obviously that has the reverse effect. But that's the sort of thing. So I want to be able to tick the remuneration box as well. But somebody who just wants to earn as much as possible, it will never be happy here. They won't last long. And we wouldn't recruit them. We bang on very much about values when we're recruiting, because you want to set that thing right. I think you can train almost anything, but culture is really hard, and we guard it jealously. So we make a big deal of that when we hire. And we've not made any mistakes so far. I wouldn't say we'll never mishire somebody, because who knows? But hopefully, you get that stuff right at the start, then it's just embedded. But I mean, if you haven't got a culture, if you haven't got a group of people who are sort of heading towards the same aim and for the same reasons, then that's going to be a problem.
Been incredible talking to you, Pete. So I have to try and wrap this up somehow, otherwise I get told off by Jake, my producer. So you're going through this change now, essentially. Sharon pushing for you to leave client work. I know you want to as well. Enables you to focus on what you do best, of course, running the business, which she does most of as the integrator.
Yes, day-to-day,
But that should free you up more to do more around meaningful money. Can you do any more than you're already doing?
Well, yeah, I think it's just a matter of scale and reach then, isn't it? You know, I mean, I can make like 2 videos a week instead of 1, but I'm not sure there's any need for that. But I would love to. We talk about Dave Ramsey, a flawed model, but has probably done more than anybody else in the US for improving people's financial situation. But he isn't the only face there. You've got a bunch of other people having shows there, Rachel Cruz among others, and I quite like that idea that it becomes a media company around finance. People say, "Oh, you should get on telly." It's like, well, I'm never going to get on telly because I live in Penzance and I hate traveling. So, I'm not going to go to Manchester. And so, I think I want to continue to build it and just see what it can be. I have the greatest fun of my life when I'm just trying stuff. Yeah. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So we do so cautiously. But I like pushing boundaries a little bit and just trying different stuff. And so that is what I'm going to have time to do more of, and really put time into the people here at Jackson's as well.
It's incredible.
We want to partner with some kind of debt counseling specialist to have debt counseling in Jackson's and get that done right, and financial literacy seminars and stuff. So the new space that we're moving into will be able to have 30-odd people in for a seminar and stuff like that. So all this sort of stuff is really floating my boat right now and keeping me awake at night for all the good reasons, because I'm excited about them. So, lots to come, man. If we have this conversation in another 5 years, I'm sure it'll look differently again.
It's incredible. And do you think that there is oversupply of content in financial space? So would you say, I guess if an advisor is listening to this, is this a path that you would recommend? Is there still room for more financial podcasts and more financial video?
Emphatically, yes. Because there's a million different audiences. I remember having a conversation at a meetup quite a few years ago with a lady there, and she was gay, right? And so she said to me, my community, by which she meant the BT community just tends not to engage with their money. It's obviously a bit of a generalization, but that's what she said. How can we reach them? I said, well, I'm looking at it, right? They're going to take it far better from you, from, you know, a straight middle-aged white guy. It doesn't make sense. And so I think we need an array of voices and backgrounds and cultures reaching a million different audiences. So there are literally there can't be too many, I don't think. I mean, you could literally take my exact script from a video, but it would be entirely different. You could say the same words, but it'd be entirely different because it's you and not me. And so I just think we need more of that. I don't think you can have too much. My only fear is that the quality sometimes can be lacking. You know, we've all heard about TikTok influencers and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not the platform, it's the people using it, right? I'm very encouraged by a lot of some quite high-profile influencers many of them are getting their exams now, their final, their diploma, so that it gives them some cute, I'm not exactly sure what the word is, some sort of kudos, you know, they know what they're talking about. They're just not making it. They're making it up. So that I'm encouraged by that. So more voices the better, but the better the voices, the better as well.
That's a wonderful, wonderful segue. Sorry, segue. Place to,
right. What are we talking about next, Abraham?
Oh gosh,
Jake's tapping his watch.
Pete, thank you very much for your time, for your wisdom, for sharing freely, you know, your journey, some of the challenges that have come along the way, but more importantly, for inspiring all of us in this profession, just with your altruism, is that the word? Generosity, I should use it more. You know, generosity. You know, there are literally thousands and thousands of people out there, you know, end consumer I am thinking of now, who are better off as a result of the work that you do, and who haven't had to pay a penny for it. But, you know, like even the ones who do have, you know, absolutely no doubt in my mind, you know, that they've got value for it more than what they paid for it. And, you know, I think our profession is better for it. You know, the world, the society at large is better for the work you do. So thank you, my friend. I am privileged to count you a friend. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me, mate. In the same way, I love the way that you're building your business. Obviously, we've signed with Timeline, so we're very excited about that for the portfolios. So, I'm very grateful for your kind words, mate. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you, too. Take care. That's a wrap on today's show. Massive thanks to my production crew, especially Jake Osha, Melissa Canham, and the entire team. And of course, to our sponsor, Timeline, the market-leading provider of integrated planning technology and model portfolio service to advisors. I do hope you've enjoyed today's show. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us your review there. Until next time, goodbye.